Hi all, grab a pen and some paper and let's work through some of the trickiest types of calculation questions that have come up on GCSE Business Paper 1. Some of you might find these questions straightforward, some of you might need to revisit this video, and that's okay. The more practice you can get, the better you'll be at answering those exam questions. And feel free to pause the video when you need to. Our first question is a cash flow forecast question, and we're required to complete the table with two missing figures. So we need to calculate the closing balance for May. In order to do that, we need to add the net cash flow for May to the opening balance. £4,400 plus £600 equals £5,000. The next part of the question requires us to calculate the net cash flow for June. So in order to calculate the net cash flow, we need to find out the difference between all cash inflows and all cash outflows. So that's £13,400 minus £9,100, and our answer is £4,300. That's the net cash flow for June. On to our next question, and it is another cash flow forecast. Now this one looks slightly different from the previous one that we looked at. So the previous one we had cash inflows, but we don't have cash inflows this time. It says receipts. It's the same thing. And we also had cash outflows, but now that's been replaced with total payments. So you need to become familiar with the different wordings for the cash flow forecast, because you might still be asked to do something like this: complete the table with two missing figures. So we're required now to calculate the net cash flow for August. Now we know to calculate the net cash flow, we need to add all the cash inflows or receipts together. It's already been done for us, and deduct the total payments. So in this scenario, that's £17,400, and you deduct £10,170, and our answer for the net cash flow in August is £7,230. On to our next question. Next, we need to calculate the total payments for September, so that would be all of our cash outflows, all of our total payments. Now we can see here there's only two, but sometimes we might have more. So we have raw materials in September are cost £9,340, and also the fixed costs for September are £2,340. So the answer is £11,680. Next question. Figure 1 shows the sales revenue of a business from January to April. Using the information in Figure 1, calculate to two decimal places the percentage decrease in sales revenue from January to March. You are advised to show your workings. So for this question, we need to calculate percentage change. So that's change over original times by 100, or new minus old divided by old times by 100. Now, let's get the figures in place. £6,400 was the sales revenue for March, and £10,300 was the sales revenue for January. So we need to get that into our formula in order to calculate the percentage change. £6,400 minus £10,300 divided by £10,300 times by 100, and the answer would be 37.86%, or minus 37.86%. You'll be credited for either of them. Next question. Using the information in the graph, calculate the percentage increase of Instagram responses between 2018 and 2019. Assuming the percentage increase continues in 2020, calculate the number of customer responses JCC shoes should receive in 2020 on Instagram. Show your workings. So this question's in two parts. So firstly, we need to look at the percentage increase of Instagram responses between 2018 and 2019. So for 2019, we can see that there was 900,000 Instagram responses. And in 2018, we would say that's 750,000. So therefore, 900,000, because we need to calculate the percentage change. 900,000, we'd minus the 750,000 to get the change. That gives us 150,000. If we put that in the formula for percentage change over original, times by 100, then we've got 150,000 divided by 750,000. Now we've divided it by 750,000 because that was the 2018 data, that was the old data, okay, and that is the number that needs to be at the bottom when we're calculating percentage change. So that gives us 20%. So that's the first part of the calculation that we need. Next, assuming this percentage increase continues in 2020, calculate the number of customer responses JCC shoes should receive in 2020 on Instagram. So what we need to do then is take our 20% and times it by 900,000, the 900,000 Instagram responses, and that gives us 180,000. Then 180,000, we would add that to the Instagram responses of 900,000, and that gives us our estimate of what we think it would be in 2020 of 108,000. You must remember the zeros at the very end because you don't want to lose out on marks there. Okay, so this was a two-part question, a little bit tricky, but hopefully you were able to get through that one. Let's look at the next one. Next question, using the information below, calculate the total cost for the business. You are advised to show your workings. The number of units sold are 240, the fixed costs are £1,100, and the variable cost per unit 45 pence. So we need to show and calculate the total cost for the business. Now we know the fixed costs are £1,100. What we need to do is add that to the calculation of the number of units sold multiplied by the variable cost per unit to give us our total costs. And the answer is £1,208. Just a reminder to like, share and subscribe as I do post regularly. Next question. Sports Tours Limited has been organising football tours to Munich, Germany since 2010. The price of a hotel room in Munich in 2010 was €100. Table 2 shows the value of the pound in euros in June 2010 and June 2019. Using the information in Table 2, calculate to 2 decimal places the price in pounds of a hotel room in 2010. You are advised to show your workings. So what we need to do there is take the €100 and divide it by 1.23, and our answer is £81.30. Now on to part B of this question. Using the information in Table 2, calculate to 2 decimal places the price in pounds of a hotel room in 2019. You are advised to show your workings. So what we need to do now, we need to get the €130 and we need to divide that by the figure in 2019. So €130 divided by 1.13, and our answer is £115.04. On to the next question. Now there is more than one way that you could calculate this question, so just bear that in mind. I will show you one way. Fleet Bikes expects to produce and sell 600 children's bikes a year. The revenue from these sales is predicted to be £240,000 annually. For each of the children's bikes, steel and aluminium will cost £50, parts will cost £45. Advertising wages and other costs will cost around £12,000 per month. Using above figures, calculate the expected profit per children's bike. So we're calculating the expected profit for each individual children's bike. Now the formula that one might use for this, you could use other formulas, could be selling price minus cost per unit. Now let's tackle the selling price. £240,000 is the amount of predicted sales, and you divide that by 600 because that's the amount of children's bikes that they expect to produce and sell each year. That gives us £400. The variable cost per bike is £45 plus the £50, and that gives us £95. The fixed costs per bike are £12,000 times by 12 divided by 600. Now the 12 is for the 12 months of the year, and the 600 is the 600 children's bikes a year, and that gives us £240. Profit per bike, £400 minus £95 minus £240, and the answer is £65. So £65 is the answer. That's the profit per bike. Use the information in the graph to calculate how much more, and more is written in bold, the fair trade cocoa price was above the normal cocoa price in April 2019. Show your workings. So we can see in April 2019, fair trade cocoa was $3,000 and the normal cocoa price was $2,500. So let's do the calculation. $3,000 minus $2,500 equals $500. There's your answer. This question again is in two parts. Second part of the question is, assume Thornton's purchased 20 tons of normal cocoa per day in April 2019. If there were 30 working days in April, calculate the monthly increase in costs if fair trade cocoa had been purchased. Show your workings. So 30 days times by 20 tons would be 600 tons purchased in April. Then we know from the previous question there was $3,000 minus $2,500, and the answer was $500. So now we need to take the $500 and multiply that by the 600 tons purchased, and that would give us our answer, which is $300,000. Now on to revenue, costs and profit. Question reads as follows. Fill in the 3 blanks in the table. So our first blank is to calculate the total revenue in June. So in order to do that, we could add profit to total costs to give us the total revenue. So the profit is £12,500 and the total cost is £10,000. So our answer is £22,500. The next part of the question requires us to calculate the total costs in July. So we could do that by deducting profit from total revenue. Total revenue is £15,000 and the profit is £3,000. And our answer is £12,000. The next part of this question requires us to calculate the profit. We could do that by deducting the total cost from total revenue, £16,000 minus £14,000, and our answer is £2,000. Another question, and this question is in 4 parts. The first part requires us to calculate the fixed costs in April. So what we need to do is we need to find the difference between the total costs and the variable costs. So total costs are £2,600, variable costs are £1,700. So we need to find the difference between that in order to get our fixed costs. The answer is £900. Next part of this question requires us to calculate the profit for April. So in order to do that, we can deduct total costs from total revenue. So that's £3,700 minus £2,600, and that gives us £1,100. Next, we are required to calculate the total costs in May. Now what we do to calculate total costs is we would add the fixed costs to the variable costs. So fixed costs are £900 and our variable costs are £1,600. So our answer is £2,500. Next and finally, for this question, we are required to calculate the total revenue for June. In order to do that, we could add profit to total costs. So the figures for profit for June is £1,100 and the total costs are £2,400, and the answer is £3,500. Now we're on to a break-even question. So break-even diagram. This is a 2-part question. Identify the total number of sales that Neil and Sue will need to break even. So let's identify on the break-even chart where that point is. The break-even point is where the total revenue matches the total costs. So we've identified it there. Now if we go right down, we can see that that links to 200. All right, so it's just below 200. So the number of sales that Neil and Sue need to break even is 200. Next part of this question, identify the profit made by Meringue by shading the correct region of the graph in figure 3. Now, perhaps you want to draw this break even just as practice and then shade in the correct region of the graph. You can pause the video. I am going to show you the answer. Let's take a look. So that is the profit made by Meringue on our break-even graph. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for watching.